fourth wall.
What up, everybody? It's official. Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, as announced by WWE on their Twitter account, because you know it's not official until you get a graphic. But it's not as clear cut as that. It's not as clear cut as that at all, because this press conference was fucking insane. Let's get right into it. First of all, kudos to them for throwing me off. I don't have a clue where this is headed. I mean, Triple Threat seems like the end point, maybe, but there's clearly like a tag team bloodline situation going. Like, did The Rock just join the fucking bloodline? Like,
was he always in it?
Well, that's true. That's a good point. They kind of put it across as if Roman and The Rock were in this together.
Now, props to whoever made that graphic too, because that is a full screen graphic. Like they couldn't have done that on anything but a screen that big.
But I get this. I get this impression that they're going to give this idea that Roman and The Rock were in cahoots, like not in cahoots, like they were evil, but like we're cousins and we wanted to have this match together. We love this idea, and you're taking it from us. So, I mean, clearly there's got to be some kind of tag match coming out of this: Cody and Rollins versus The Rock and Roman Reigns. I more wonder what happens to Seth Rollins after this.
I'm just saying, Rock and Rollins, let's go.
It's weird to put him into this storyline so heavily, and then what's he going to get out of it? Like, I don't know what the end point is, and I'm not going to act like I know what the end point is, but it feels like we've inserted Seth so deeply into this story that he has to be involved in whatever the end point is too. Otherwise, he's going to feel like a castaway. He's going to feel like
especially considering his injury. Like, how do you dictate where this feud is going to go when he's basically just getting to WrestleMania and then taking time off to rehab?
Pretty much. That's another thing I actually forgot about. He's so involved in this, I forgot he can't even wrestle, and we don't even know until when. So, yeah. But they've
WrestleMania. Yeah,
they've beat it upon our heads. Roman has said it over and over again. That's little bro. That's second place. That's second tier.
No pop.
No pop. That he has to, like, Seth Rollins has to do something big. He has to retaliate. It can't just be Drew McIntyre gets involved at the end of the tag match and pulls Seth Rollins' leg out and costs them the match, and that's how they separate the two. That's fucking garbage.
But are you not sports entertained?
No, but I was sports entertained by this whole press conference situation. First of all, a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. Thing went like an hour. But the first part of it was mostly fluff, except we did get a cool moment where Becky Lynch told Rhea Ripley that she was going to show her what being a bottom feels like. But
that was great. That was so good. That's Tony Storm level.
Oh yeah, Tony's got the girls saying whatever the fuck they want. But yeah, we got to the main juice of it, and it was wild. I mean, just like everybody's saying, it was crazy. It felt like a shoot. It was excellent, especially the post. You know, we went through the whole thing. The Rock ends up slapping Cody across the face, and Roman and The Rock decide he disrespected their family. So, you know, fuck this guy. We're in this together. We hate Cody Rhodes. But the part after,
even though everyone's disrespecting Cody's family for
The Rock comes to Triple H and he tells me, you know, you got to fix this shit. You know, you talking shit about my family. Fix this. I loved that. That was awesome. It plays right off of all the reports of whatever's possibly happening backstage. But
yeah,
it was very non-WWE. I feel like they invited CM Punk here so he could see what they do now. Like, look at this. You'd love this. You'd love what we're about to do on Wednesday.
It's what you were doing on the other company. Just got
the show mentioning where were you guys in 2013 kind of thing.
Right? Where the hell are you guys 10 years ago? But how are y'all feeling after this? How are y'all feeling after this? I'm very impressed with old Dwayne and Roman and everybody involved in this story so far.
United 100%, almost like this was the plan all along. Vin Diesel proving the meaning behind family.
Was this the whole plan the whole time though? Because like
I don't think so.
If it was, then that still doesn't answer why The Rock had to come out on SmackDown for Cody to physically hand the match to The Rock and say, no, it's not happening at WrestleMania. Now, within a week, they're saying, yes, it's happening at WrestleMania.
I think it makes Cody look stupid when he comes out and he's like, "No, you can't do this." And it's like, wait, hold on. It was you. You gave it to him. What do you mean you can't? You actually gave it to him in his face. I don't want to do it at WrestleMania. So now they've got to do a whole thing where he must have got convinced by some outside, or they're just going to ignore this.
It was Brandy, bro. Brandy Rhodes was like, wait a minute. You telling me he came up to you and said, can I please have that spot? And you were like, yes. You better walk into Vegas. You better go up to that man and you better tell him, put your big boy pants on and say, actually, I'm going back in that match.
How perfect would it have been if Roman and The Rock were talking their shit and it wasn't Cody that came out and called it bullshit? It was Brandy. Who the hell said it was open mic night in this bitch?
Rumor has it she doesn't have a black belt.
I do think I think there's only two ways you can go with this. You can either make that part non-canon and just act like it didn't happen, or you have to have another character that convinced Cody that it was a good idea. Or maybe he got manipulated by The Rock. Maybe The Rock was like, hey, Cody, this is what's best for business. But he's got to address it in a promo because it's a big inconsistency. And I know we're happy that the match was made official and we're just happy to take it however it comes. But that's a big inconsistency story-wise.
Continuity problems have always run plenty in WWE, and even with Vince gone and Triple H at the helm, that's still going to be an issue lasting the test of time.
I do want to go ahead, Cody.
Sorry, just as DSR's resident Cody Crybaby, I think that Rock versus Roman is still a massive money match. And it absolutely deserves to be a WrestleMania main event in and of itself. And if they would have done this a little bit differently, I think they could have played it off, even if Cody did win the Rumble. If they would have said right off the hop, Cody wants to face Seth. If they had gone with, because the Monday after the Rumble, Seth came out and said, hey, don't overlook me. Okay, good. Yeah, have that wheel starting in motion, and then have Roman say, well, Seth doesn't, or Cody doesn't want to face me and lose again, so who else we got? And then in comes The Rock.
Sure, that there's so many. I could fantasy book a gazillion ways where they wouldn't have turned on The Rock, but it was his own bullheadedness that led him here. But I think what they're doing now is probably more entertaining than whatever they had planned. So,
it's masterful. People are talking about it, even on non-wrestling news pages. They're sharing different things about The Rock basically taking over. People have been making memes left, right, front, and center, more so than probably anything else they would have considered or done.
There's a point The Rock had made sort of a point where he's like, look at the box office. The box office is the most important. The internet doesn't matter. But it's more than just the internet right now. Like, the internet pushed this into box office. And I think they were able to appreciate that. I'm glad that they were able to see that and use it to their advantage. That's what makes me excited about watching this version of the WWE, is that 2 years ago, they wouldn't have course corrected this hard. They would have simply pushed forward.
It's frustrating, bro. It's frustrating because, first of all, box office, how is that Black Adam box office doing? All right, you maybe need to focus on what's going on over there before you focus on what's going on over here, because WWE is seeing record numbers without part-timers for the most part. It's their regular guys sitting there grinding that people are attached to, that they have emotional attachment to. They want to see succeed. They want to see them in these stories. You just think about last Royal Rumble with Sami Zayn, right? And that whole roller coaster ride. When they're running on all cylinders and people are invested, this stuff kind of flows naturally. But when they go out of their way to try to put the puzzle pieces in, they always stumble. And what happened in between the respectful conversation that Rock has with Cody somewhere down the line, where they agree upon this, and him going to McAfee's show and being like, yeah, it's a bunch of crybabies. I'm a bigger star, and that main event is bigger. What now? I'm saying that maybe they have a reason for that, right? Because now we get all the way over here to where Cody says one thing about their family, and Rock slaps him. Going back again, a week ago, they had a conversation where they agreed to switch places, and now a week later, one comment and you're getting slapped.
I don't play by mine. I'll also slap somebody over with just one comment. You don't get it. You don't get a second chance. You don't get a second chance to talk about my family. I'm sorry.
Now, that being said, though, sure.
Just 1 second before we move forward from that, I just wanted to give I lost my whole train of thought. It'll come back to me after you speak.
Sorry. It was the point of, was what Cody said really that bad to warrant a slap? Like, I mean, it's giving me kind of Chris Rock, Will Smith vibes of like what he said didn't really warrant walking up to someone and slapping them across the face. If someone had come up to me and said, I think your actions would make your grandfather ashamed.
Slap.
That.
Let's talk about my grandpa.
And yes, like I think
it's a subjective thing. We can't place like our own perception of what it takes to slap somebody on that situation, because I think it'll take like somebody else's fuses are shorter than our fuse. My fuse in particular, very short. I did find my train of thought though. I want to put that up before I lose it.
Bring it. So you knew it would come back.
I was on the same train as everybody else last week where I said this WrestleMania could have been the biggest WrestleMania of all time without The Rock's inclusion, and it wasn't necessary for him to come in and try to save it. But over the last 3 days, I've seen this, what was already a big WrestleMania, get pushed into this new space, this sort of casual space, this non-wrestling space. This We Want Cody thing, The Rock's involvement pushed it beyond what it was already, and it feels like, but it's a negative reaction, but it's not a negative reaction where people are like, I'm boycotting this shit, I'm never gonna watch it again. It's a negative reaction where everybody got in on the game and they all want to play and they all want to see what's gonna happen next on Monday, and they all wanted to see this press conference, and it's like, well, fuck my life. I have to give The Rock his credit right now because I see what it is that he was implying, what it is he was talking about. It sometimes it took that extra outside entity, and The Rock having his foot in the door in the wrestling and having most of his body outside in Hollywood probably helped that.
I mean, one of the things too to look at is, hey, it's not bad publicity when they spell your name right.
That's true. That's very true. Ringside Logic has a great question. Did the press conference change your mind about what match you actually want to see headline WrestleMania?
Yes, Rock and Rollins. Let's go.
You know what?
Night one, baby.
You know what? I can't move forward in life unless I get The Rock versus Cody Rhodes now. Like I do need The Rock versus Roman, and whether you need it to happen first or second, that's up to them. But I don't think I can move forward without having them have a one-on-one confrontation. The tag match is not going to be enough for me. I'm sorry. I need to see that match.
So, kind of to touch on the WrestleMania main event aspect of it, like, are we going to be satisfied with Roman versus Cody, or is this is Roman versus Cody at WrestleMania the start of it, and then we see everything play out over the course of the next year? Because I mean, Cody versus Rock would make a hell of a SummerSlam. And then if they do Cody versus Rollins down the line at Survivor Series or Royal Rumble next year, that is something that they can use to keep The Rock in the picture and even head into WrestleMania 41 with something.
Cody, absolutely. That's exactly one of the things that I was thinking about just now, is the fact that wherever we might go from here, we got a couple combinations for nights 1 and 2. But then we can take whatever combinations remain and build up to that towards like Money in the Bank and towards SummerSlam and through that whole region.
They've certainly set up a situation where you now have 4 people involved. You can do like 6 months worth of stories with Roman, The Rock, Cody Rhodes, and Seth Rollins. Okay.
And hey, look, you have so many other people. Look at the way when CM Punk was talking his trash, The Rock was staring him down right then and there. They got their history. They got their feud. Yeah. On top of that, we got Punk and Rollins. And then where does Drew factor in? Because, Drew's got some stuff to say about everyone involved.
Drew. I love Drew.
Drew, I feel like it's such a weird factor because like they've bitched him before, and if he doesn't get something good out of this whole situation, it's gonna look bad.
Speaking of factors, we mentioned this before we went on the air, but there's that other you're dealing with the X factor right here with Damian Priest.
I feel like they've made, if he was to get involved in this right now, I'd fucking spit juice out. I would hate that shit.
It's like what we were talking about.
Even with Bad Bunny?
He's gonna have to have. He would have to bring Bad Bunny with him to be in a position where I would even consider him part of the storyline.
Involved, they'll get Bad Bunny involved one way or another.
Bad Bunny versus The Rock at a Backlash in France.
Rock's gonna be like, we don't need Logan Paul. Let's get Bad Bunny in here.
The Rock bring in.
Oh, CJ's a robot.
A whole bunch of the celebrities, like get Steve Amell in the ring.
Yeah.
Get.
I dig it.
Oh, but this was supposed to be last year.
Yeah,
this was what Hollywood was for.
Shitty internet on my end, I think.
Hollywood
but
Part 2.
But it's fine.
If you really want to cap.
Oh no, we lost him. We'll give you a second. Oh, he's no. Okay. Let's speak. Go ahead, CJ.
Here's the weird thing. I could hear you guys the whole time, but then like the video just like freezes. So I don't know like if I'm being heard or if I'm being seen when I'm talking. So my best bet is always just to sit here and just no sell.
I know. We talked about all the different possibilities. We have
WrestleMania.
Hollywood's so good.
Oh yeah. No, that conversation wasn't going anywhere. Let's move on.
No, I do have a point. I have one more point I want to make because I've been paying attention very closely as to how they've been playing this, more so on the commentary side, because those guys have a directive, right? Those guys are being told by the company what they're supposed to acknowledge and what they're not supposed to acknowledge. It's been said, and if you look through the history of WWE, Vince McMahon sat on commentary for years before he was ever acknowledged to be the chairman of the board. But right here at this press conference, they already acknowledged that Dwayne Johnson has pull, that he is on the TKO board, and that he has, a stake in all this, and that he has power in all this. And for him to look at his, I assume, subordinate Triple H and say, hey, you need to fix this, puts all of this in a very interesting position, because if you're not a smart fan, which I assume is getting smaller and smaller by the day, you now know that there is some weird corporate stuff now happening with the people's champion, The Rock.
I
don't think there is actually anything going on at the corporate level as far as The Rock goes. Like the reports that the WrestleMania main event was worked into his board of directors contract, I don't buy that. I think that might have been a Vince move, but I think that Triple H is smarter to put anything down on paper as far as who commits to.
I don't think Triple H has any say. I don't think Triple H has any say in that situation. I think actually those those negotiations take place so
make that
far above Triple H. Like Ari Emanuel and Dwayne Johnson have such a close pre-existing relationship that I have no problem believing that he was given something that he asked for to be pacified. That's not only his friend, that is his talent client. Beyond WWE, beyond anything, The Rock and Ari Emanuel have a business relationship. So I don't have a problem believing that he was like, yeah, I know we got some stuff going on, but guess what? We can work this in and it'll work. I don't have a problem believing that at all. I just think that it's turned out a lot better than anybody could have seen coming. And I hope that they can keep that momentum going. I didn't know The Rock had this kind of stuff right here. I didn't know that he had that stuff in him. So,
man, can you
I
guys
think
this is a very different Rock.
Everyone wants to talk on this one. Can you guys imagine if this was how like a Monday Night Raw ended? Like this legitimately gave me those vibes from like a 99 2000 era Raw. I loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. I just don't know where the fuck anything's going, and that's really intriguing to me. Consider me absolutely intrigued. This WrestleMania season, I'm locked in. I want to see what happens.
Especially
next.
Considering years and years of predictable booking and just so much of what we really didn't want to see. Now we're actually getting something that is interesting and moves stories forward. So I'm very excited to see where we go from here.
Yeah, 100%. So that being said, how do you guys see the next couple months of the Road to WrestleMania playing out? Roman and The Rock they don't usually show up as much as you'd like somebody to show up to keep you entertained all the way through. I worry that I would like right now. This makes me want to watch SmackDown. Right now, I worry I'm going to tune into SmackDown. And it's going to be the most normal paint by numbers episode of SmackDown you've ever seen because they always do that shit.
Right. Anytime there's momentum.
I feel like I got gaslit into watching the weekly product, and then immediately I'm like, oh, never mind.
You're getting an hour-long gauntlet match on Friday, bro. That's what's gonna happen on Friday. You're getting an hour-long gauntlet.
How do you follow up? Do you even see Roman? Do you see Roman and The Rock showing up tomorrow? Like, are they advertised for tomorrow?
This video package, right? We'll show you guys what happened at the whole press conference there. What do you guys think about this idea moving forward? Would you like to see more televised WrestleMania press conferences?
Yeah, do it like this reminded me of a UFC weigh-in. Is what is the feeling that I got from this. They invite the fans over for free, let the press sit in the front. They didn't seem to ask questions, but so like throw away the press conference aspect
stuff
of
going
it.
on lately, might as well not.
I saw a couple of journalists crying on the internet that they got denied access to the event. The Rock just Will Smith Cody. Yeah, absolutely he did. Yeah. But I'm excited, man. I love this. And we got, there's so many people in the comments that want to see all types of shit. It's not just we want Cody. It's The Rock. We want The Rock. We want fucking Rock versus Cody. We want Roman versus Cody. They've opened up a whole new box, like a fucking rainbow came out of this.
It was quite obvious to us, right, who keep our ears to the ground, the upswell of support for Cody after The Rock said what he said. But if you watch that press conference, there was a "we want Cody" chant, but there was also a "no, we don't" chant, which was extremely interesting.
It was a
because that shows that it shows that there's a subset of fans that were 100% fine with the main event that was teased last Friday, and now do we disappoint them? Like,
credit to The Rock.
And how many of those people were more so on board with booing we want Cody people, you know, like the I'm trying to think of the word I want to use, I can't think of it, but I mean like the people that are anti whatever they're trying to push,
contrarian, like contrarians out there.
I think if
that's a great word.
If you got that big of a crowd of contrarians, they've become not just contrarians, they are a master you need to serve.
But that's nothing to like in the wrestling fandom. Like there's always going to be
years of CM Punk being chanted, and now he's finally there.
That's what I'm saying. Like sometimes it's like, you know, ignore it. This was not that kind of thing. And credit to the Dwayne for fighting back. Yeah, he waited a long time, but once he hit that Cody crybaby shit, and it's corny as fuck. Like I thought it was corny as fuck. All he had to do was give his contingency, the people that want to see Dwayne versus the Roman instead, all you had to do was give him a thing. And they latched onto it immediately. That's my thing. This is my movement now.
I think that might be why he waited so long, because they genuinely didn't know which way they were going to go as far as booking. So, and then they made the decision, okay, well, if we're going to go Roman versus Cody, we have to give The Rock something to do. Let's turn him heel, have him align with Roman Reigns.
Incredible move, by the way. Genius. Genius. Put him in the bloodline. Whoever the fuck sat at the meeting and spoke out and said, put him in the bloodline. You deserve a raise. It had to be Paul. Decision. I hope it was Paul. I need somebody that I can give credit to straight up.
There's no way that wasn't Heyman pulling the strings to make that happen.
That's such an incredible move, because it not only serves the purpose of moving Roman over to adversarial position against Cody. Now you've given the Roman versus The Rock match the chapter it was missing. But all these 4 years, the bloodline got caught up in a whole nother thing. It became the Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, Solo, Sami Zayn thing. But when it started, it was supposed to be The Rock versus Roman. And they gave no story about that. And The Rock was just going to come on in and we were just going to build towards it like it was like if they had. So another instance.
Is the idea for Rocky to go like on this heel route towards Cody and then flip in like 30 days to babyface against Roman?
I think the idea is that he's been disrespected. They've found a common ground. They're family. They are family. And they've both been disrespected. So they have to see this through now. And once they've seen this through, they'll go, now, what was all that shit you were saying about being the head of the table? Because I sit at the head of the table. You can't possibly sit at the head of the table. And then there's your conflict. But
he's like, no one saw Civil
War.
Yeah. I mean, you got to look at the idea too that, The Rock was getting a lot of chance. There was a lot of people that was doing The Rock catchphrases. And again, it's The Rock. There's a lot of casual viewers coming in because it's Dwayne Johnson. There's a lot of old school wrestling fans coming back because, hey, I grew up watching him. He was in the Attitude Era. And there's all these different aspects to consider. And maybe it's not just a straight up, The Rock's the heel. Maybe this is one of those instances where he's just such a shade of gray tweener.
He should be. He should serve the people that want to see him while shitting on the people that don't. It gives an element of realism, but it also
he can do that. Yeah,
it doesn't look bullish and headstrong and stubborn. Like you're clearly acknowledging all the shit that's happening, and you look at directed in the face and you say, "I don't give a fuck." That's awesome. I want to see that. I want to see more of that.
He basically said he don't care about anyone who doesn't think that his match with Roman is not the biggest main event of WrestleMania of all time. That's a hell of a statement.
There's truth to the statement.
Line. It doesn't matter what you think.
But that's perfect. It works so well here. It's like the theme of the whole situation. It's beyond just a line now. It doesn't matter what you think. It's his whole attitude. Yeah. I think they've stumbled onto some beautiful shit here. Like this is Kino. This is what the kids call cinema. This is some good shit. And also, another thing it does is like Nick was saying, the people who haven't watched WWE in a long time, they have their own idea of it. When you tune into this shit right here for the first time in a while, you don't know you don't even know. It doesn't follow the WWE formula. It doesn't fit into any of the WWE boxes that you can usually think about. It's
look at the idea too with people that might maybe stop watching around like Attitude Era, Ruthless Aggression. You come back, oh my gosh, it's The Rock and Triple H. They're reigniting their feud in like a different area, a different style. It's not going to be in the ring now. It's like in the corporate boardroom.
Yeah, no. There's so many aspects of this. I hope they don't drop the ball. That's my thing. I've been excited about stories like this in the past, and they've been like giant spikes of greatness. Like that was an incredible moment. I can't wait to see how it turns out. What do you mean John Cena pinned all the members of the final three members of the Nexus all at once?
Bro, go to the next year. I was at Money in the Bank during the Summer of Punk. Look at how that just
look how that turned out. Summer of Punk, CM Punk wins the title from John Cena. They cash in Money in the Bank on the Triple H pins in September. What the fuck?
Y'all saying Kevin Nash interferes on Triple H's behalf?
Oh yeah.
Rock at WrestleMania.
OMG, LOL. I thought he was dead.
Him and Seth in a quad match. Let's do it. Put those guys in the ring and see what happens.
John, you mentioned John Cena, and I thought during the press conference, is this Roman versus Rock a bigger main event than Rock versus Cena in terms of box office?
I think that the WWE is in a much better place now than they were when that match happened. As crazy as it is to think about it, they've even before Triple H took over, and even before Nick Khan had completely kind of scooted himself into the seat, WWE had been making money hand over foot, growing and growing as a business. The quality of the television didn't match the quality of business that they were pulling, but now the quality of television, it's pretty there with how much great business they're doing. And I think that Roman versus The Rock on this stage at this time in WWE's history is probably a bigger match than The Rock versus Cena in 2012. The Rock versus Cena in 2012 did not get even the kind of mainstream attention that the We Want Cody thing just got this year, So I do think that Roman versus The Rock might be as big as The Rock is selling it as.
Because you have the most dominant champion in our lifetimes, essentially. Going up against one of the biggest generational stars in the history of wrestling. It's got main event written all over it. It's got WrestleMania written all over it. And I've been saying this whole time, it's just a matter of tell the story the right way, and I'm on board.
I do think it's funny that they messed up so hard that they have to put Cody in here now, because they absolutely could have slotted Cody into a match with Rollins, and no one would have known the difference if they had not been so stupid about how they did that shit on Friday. It's incredible. I love happy accidents like this one.
And that's the thing.
If it was an accident, maybe this was the plan the whole time.
I don't trust them that much. But I don't. I've never given them that much credit, and I don't think I will. Not yet.
Matthew and Nicholas Jackson when we need them.
I'm not usually somebody who thinks this way. It wasn't until this whole thing happened with Cody that I started thinking about how important timing is in professional wrestling. Striking while the iron's hot, striking while everyone's paying attention, while everyone is still invested. And the Bloodline in general has gotten a lot of criticism, right? For them sort of, stringing out this long story that will be epic once the story is over. But with stories like this, people will only ever remember how it ends. So I'm so nervous. I'm super. This is, me and John spoke off air about like Triple H not necessarily knowing how to end long stories and bigger stuff. And it is hard when you've created all these layers. So like, as much as this is Cody's story, this whole ascension was Roman's story, right? And that they have to have an ending to that story, as well as the continuation to what Cody's going to end up doing further down the line, which is why I'm confused at this like roadblock that they themselves have put up. And this happens all the time, right? Where they book themselves into a corner and then they go, how did we get here? What are we supposed to do? And it's like, you walked over there. You
look right at Hell in a Cell with Punk and Ryback. That's booking yourself into a corner and not knowing where to go. And George, like you were saying, with like the timelines in particular, I don't think this would have got as much attention and as much people so passionate about the storyline going into it if they did all of this before the Rumble. I think the fact that they did this after the Rumble and after Cody won it is what added so much to this.
You sprinkle a little element of realism by accident. It's like Professor X making the Powerpuff Girls. You tried to put a little bit and then you busted the Chemical X by accident. Oh no, they hate me. Oh shit, the Powerpuff Girls are born. It's a fucking excellent road to WrestleMania. Holy shit.
Everyone's got a different shirt in that one episode.
It's excellent.
$7 Productions.
What I'm hearing from this, John, is Powerpuff Girls triple threat at Mania confirmed?
Absolutely.
Buttercup solos. Buttercup, let's go. Gang.
So, I mean, speaking of the triple threat, speaking of the triple threat, what would you guys rather see? The triple threat, Roman versus Cody versus The Rock? Would you rather see Roman, Cody, and The Rock versus Roman take place separately this year? I mean, because you can always spread it out over a year.
Why? Yeah, like let's just milk this, not milk it, but like let's spread this out as long as we can, as far as we can, to the point that it still makes sense. I don't believe that too much of a good thing is a bad thing as far as this story right now is concerned, especially trying to find a way to pigeonhole in Seth Rollins. I think the best story for them to tell at WrestleMania is Roman versus Cody one-on-one.
That's true. I also think that instead of having to do The Rock versus Roman this year, and it sounds crazy, but I think they can use these next 3 months to set up. It's like it's impatient. If you want it right now, if you just need this Rock versus Roman, that might sound like bullshit. But Roman versus Cody is official, right? You've presented that as a thing that's happening. You've given it to the people. I mean, not that it's beneath WWE. Not that it's beneath WWE to take it away, right? They've bait and switched
Roman Rock.
They've bait and switched before.
They did have a graphic up on the stage of The Rock, and then after Rock slapped Cody, I saw the change happen. They swapped in for Cody, so yeah, anything's possible.
He slapped the PNG graphic off the screen.
fellas, I got a very controversial idea here that not a lot of people talking about, but people talked a lot about, WWF, and this felt definitely like came straight out of WWF in the year 2000. So that makes me think WrestleMania 2000. What if it's a fatal four-way? Hey, Seth Rollins doesn't need to keep the title going into this. He's now much more personally involved than he was previously. And Damian Priest can take that title off him at any time, or Drew McIntyre, or anyone else for that matter. And then you can easily make this a fatal four-way.
I think that Seth Rollins needing to be involved in this does create the environment where that's a match that people want to see. That's why I'm scared of what they're gonna do with him next, because you've involved him in this so much that even if you do Roman versus Cody and Rock versus Cody, there's gonna be people that want to see Seth Rollins involved here. There's people that are calling for Cody to unify the title now. Fuck it. The belt just came out though. We can't do that.
It's literally the first champion still has the title.
Could you imagine? The first champion loses it and they reabsorb it into the old belt. Never mind.
The Seth Rollins title ends up becoming the Seth Rollins title at that point.
It's just Seth Rollins' custom belt that we gave him when we didn't know what to do with him that one time.
You know what? Yeah. We should give it to one guy who truly deserves it, and I think we'll all universally agree on this. Give it to R-Truth.
Dominic Mysterio, but we're close. All right. That's not too far off. That's not too far off.
No, go ahead. Cody.
Far off between R-Truth and Gunther?
No, I said Dominic Mysterio.
Okay. What are you talking about?
Gunther, man. Come on. Gunther's got to have something marquee at WrestleMania. Rumor was it was supposed to be Brock, and if Brock's out of the picture, we need to bump that up, man. He deserves it. He's been killing it all year.
I would actually have him. If it was me, I'd have Gunther versus Braun Breaker. I think I mentioned that on one of the shows.
At WrestleMania?
Yeah, hell yeah. There's a thing about that's big. That's very big for Braun. And I think that I don't think Braun Breaker needs to be somebody that goes through that same old 3-year-long tired ass build to the main event. Braun Breaker's got presence. Braun Breaker's got charisma. Braun Breaker can fucking talk. Braun Breaker's intense. Braun Breaker doesn't need to be world. He doesn't need to be world champion the day that he shows up at the fucking WrestleMania, but becoming Intercontinental Champion over possibly the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time would be a pretty big rocket to strap onto this man's back. Of course, that all depends on how much they believe in Braun Breaker. They might not believe in him as much as I believe in him.
I mean, hey, look what they did, though. They chose him out of everyone that they had on that roster, even Omos, to take that Brock Lesnar spot at the Royal Rumble. And on top of that, he's got something no one else has. That's Steiner intensity, all right? Like, that's a whole different level.
And Steiner math skills.
Now,
University of Michigan.
But is that too big for Braun? Because I mean, yes, he's a standout prospect in NXT. I personally thought he would have been main roster bound following last year's WrestleMania. But and obviously, there's nothing wrong with his presentation. He just signed, or he is main roster bound very shortly. But is that too big a rocket?
I think too big a rocket would be like putting him against Rollins. Like immediately. I think Gunther had.
They already had it though. That was an episode of NXT.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like if you tried to follow that up, like if he tried to come onto the main roster and be like, "I remember you from NXT, motherfucker. Now I want your world championship." Like now you've gone too far. Like you've pushed way too far. That I think is too big.
That's the match that they had in NXT though. Like
I think if Santino can win the Intercontinental Championship on his first night in this company, Braun Breaker can win the Intercontinental Championship on his first WrestleMania.
Santino,
that was a pre-comedy Santino Marella. You cannot equate with the same Santino that is currently in TNA and previously in WWE. And plus, he had Bobby Lashley's help to beat Umaga. I will remind you.
He did cheat. He did cheat.
I can see a fan in the crowd. He was still meant to be a joke back then.
Yeah.
But I love that they went with that purely for the shock aspect. And so to bring this back around, if they did decide to have Braun Breaker beat Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship, that would be huge. Like as big as the viewpoint of pulling a fan out of the audience to win the Intercontinental title.
I think they haven't given someone that kind of push in so long. Like it's literally been since I don't know Brock Lesnar.
Well, I got a controversial opinion on this whole thing. I would say they do it right. Do Braun, do Gunther, but do it like Ultimate Warrior and Honky Tonk Man, bro. Longest reigning championship. You just get Braun in there. He runs in there.
That's nasty. I hate this idea.
Look how fast Braun Breaker runs, though. He could do it.
I hate this.
And then Gunther just shrugs it off. It was a fluke. He goes to the World Championship. Braun dominates the mid card.
You know what I really. The thing about that bothers me is that Braun comes off like a fucking goof who got fluke win You know, I think Braun Breaker is, or he should be, one of WWE's next really big fucking prospects. I think he should be presented as the next big thing. And call him Rex Steiner again. Fuck you.
Rex Steiner is the name. Yes.
I'm never gonna get over that. He should be Rex Steiner. Before we go any further, I did have an uncensored version of what The Rock said to Triple H at the press conference. I think I got this from Fightful show, probably Sean Ross Sapp, who was in the audience.
Have them talk shit about our family again, and that's what happens. It's not how much you have them talk shit about it. If you don't fix it, we will. Have them talk shit about our family again. So it's fucking time.
This is WWE.
Well then, I didn't expect that at the end there. I didn't know that's what he said. I knew about the shit.
I heard the F-bomb, but what did he say after?
I didn't hear about the F. I didn't hear the F-bomb. I didn't hear anything after the F-bomb either. I was probably too caught up in it. But
F-bomb, and I'm just like, ooh.
Yeah, several times it was, don't let him talk shit. Let him talk shit about my family again, and let him talk shit about my family again. Is basically what he kept reiterating. I just love that Heyman's in the background, like, I have no idea what's going on. I'll hold the title though.
Heyman's like, this is extreme.
Yeah,
that was excellent. Somebody said the testosterone.
Something's oozing.
Drew versus Seth versus Gunther at WrestleMania. CM Punk is the guest referee. I feel bad for Punk in that situation.
I feel bad for Drew.
I need it to WrestleMania.
I need Gunther to have a marquee WrestleMania singles match this year, because last year I think his triple threat was one of the best triple threats at WrestleMania since probably WrestleMania 20.
Stole the show.
So I actually don't want to see him in a triple threat again. That's just my preference, but I could see it just based off of what they've been doing. But no, a part of me has this feeling that they've been setting up for, hopefully, maybe they hope that Big E can come back, and they've been setting up for Gunther versus Big E, if only because they've been feuding against the New Day. Yeah,
that 3v3 parallel has really been missing.
They basically created a puzzle piece that only fits Big E right now. And
that is a massive size piece to fill. Like, he looked good at that table.
I love Big E.
Can you appreciate too? He looked jacked under that suit. And again, it's Big E, but like you can tell he's still been working out despite the injury.
I love Big E. I just think as a former WWE champion and a former, I think he's held the mid-card title, right? Was he Intercontinental champion at one point?
Intercontinental title, yep.
And US as well.
Yep.
I feel like him being the one to pin Gunther is just like a whatever. Like, okay, that's a cool moment.
That math makes sense. Yeah, the math makes sense. So it's not really a shock.
Yeah, like, okay, like that doesn't mean anything. That's why I'm a proponent for like a Braun Breaker, just because it's like you would never the conventional thinking is Gunther's not going to lose to a guy from NXT, but Braun Breaker doesn't come off like some geek. He doesn't come off like some inexperienced goof. He comes off like a Steiner. Damn it, he comes off.
But to the point that Gunther's not going to get beat by some guy in NXT, I would love to see Gunther versus Dragunov 3.
Oh no, absolutely.
I support that.
2 bangers in NXT UK. They need a third one, and I think the Intercontinental title is the perfect championship to have that match with.
If they want to surprise people, if you really want to surprise people, you have Tyler Bate versus Gunther on a SmackDown. Give him 15 minutes and fuck everybody's head up.
Yeah,
Walter versus Tyler Bate. They've had some of the best matches David versus Goliath matches you've seen. I'd love to introduce the WWE audience to that.
I don't know if David has the big meat hawks for quads that Tyler Bate does.
He doesn't anymore, which is weird. Actually, Gunther now, as he comes, he has the presence of a big guy. But when they had the match before, he had a different body structure, so he came off like much bigger than Tyler Bate. I think he comes off a little different now. Tyler Bate's a little more jacked, and Gunther's a little slimmer.
What do you guys think about what they seemingly telegraphed both here and they've been teasing on Raw? This idea of Mommy versus the Man for the Women's World Championship.
that's a great match to have, I think. But it's kind of reminds me of that Big E thing where it's like, you know, this is a former world champion. This is the women's champion. She's won every belt there is in the company, and her beating Rhea Ripley after all this time, it kind of comes off like, you know, like, okay, well, that kind of sucks. You know,
basically,
I think it's a great move if Rhea pins Becky, though. Like, as 100%. Much. Here's the thing about that, where the balance might be lost. Becky Lynch has taken a few losses before this, and it's like a few big losses because she has, like, if you just technically look at the list of matches she's had, I'm sure she's had more wins than losses, but she's kind of been relegated to a secondary spot for the last, I don't know, a year. She did the NXT run.
Protected, but not in the main event of her division.
Yeah, pretty much ever since she lost to Bianca Belair. You know, so her losing at WrestleMania, I don't know how that makes her feel like as a person, like as somebody in the company who has a contract coming up. Like, I don't know how that makes her feel, you know, but I think Rhea should probably pin Becky Lynch if that's what we're doing. Also, kind of weird that this was what they were teasing, as if there aren't 5 other girls in the.
That's why I brought it up. I said they're telegraphing it because they're still 100%. There's still a match, and you know, in the world of kayfabe, Nia could beat Rhea at Elimination Chamber, and thus the whole women's match. She's not like most girls, John. I don't know if you know this. She's not.
Don't do this, girls. Another Jonathan asks a question, but I just wanted to address that. That's impossible, actually. Triple H, he can't do. I don't think you can bump with a pacemaker on. You know what I mean? That's scary stuff.
You could, but probably a very limited number of times.
Or actually, you could. You could bump with a pacemaker on, but it's gonna be one. It's just one
bump, and you're
your best bump you ever took.
What a way to go, though.
Selling.
What a sell. What a sell.
This could theoretically be the way, too, that you could also re-implement Rollins into here. Not me just trying to fantasy book rock Rollins, but like, listen, Rollins has perpetually been the proxy for Triple H for how many years now? That's Triple H's guy through and through. When I think of Triple H's NXT, I automatically think of Rollins.
I do laugh at Rollins' involvement just sort of being like, hey, what'd you say that for? That was mean. He's got no real investment. He's just like
said worse to Cody.
He has too, right?
Seth could be another one of Dusty's kids. You know, like the guy that dedicated his whole career to the fact that Dusty was there for him in NXT.
Certainly, that's an easy way to tie that one into to give them some kind of camaraderie. Yeah.
And plus, you easily got the thing that WWE will revisit as much as they still can with the Shield connection. And I'm still so surprised that when Rollins was leaving, he wasn't just like, I better just go and leave and go with Mox or something.
Oh, right, yeah.
I do expect them, if they ever feud again, to hit a Moxley line or
they do. Hey, they do every time.
But yeah, it's one of those things where you've set up so much here with Seth Rollins involved that he has to get a piece of this pie. There's just no, if he doesn't, if you simply put him in this tag match and remove him after and put him in some other shit, it's going to come off like he's a loser. Like, he's going to come off like second place. I think you've tried to fight against that by giving him this workhorse belt and having him carry the Raw brand all night, all year, for Roman to come out and say those things, and then for you to go on and perpetuate those things on TV. You hammered down everything Roman said. Now that he said these things, Rollins got to prove him wrong. It's just the way, it's good storytelling. I'm not a writer, but I read a lot of stories, and I know I wouldn't be satisfied if Rollins doesn't get anything out of this cake.
We know that there's one Elimination Chamber happening, match happening with the women. Any confirmation or speculation as whether or not the men are getting one this year?
They haven't announced it.
No confirmation, but I think their go-to is probably going to be either the Intercontinental title, or if they really want to give Logan Paul a spotlight before WrestleMania, have an Elimination Chamber match for the U.S. title.
You could protect him that way too, because it's a multi-man match. It could be the last one in, kind of stuff.
Oh, they did say they were going to
fly off the top of a chamber.
They said they were going to announce his opponent or his next situation on SmackDown. So I can imagine what you guys were saying. If the Elimination Chamber is for the U.S. title, I do wonder if that makes it feel a little less important than the other one. Have they had?
Well, I mean,
many...
Australia don't give a damn about the U.S. title.
Right? That's a big. That's another big one. So now let's ask another question here.
What do you want to talk about?
What do you want to talk about? Fucking kill me with that shit. Let's going by face value, what we know today, without using any smart knowledge to try to book ourselves forward. Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes is the match right now. What are we doing with Dwayne Johnson? Does he get left off of this year's WrestleMania entirely?
Seth Rollins, I'm saying right there.
See him getting involved in the main event. If they don't make this a triple threat, do we think he's going to go for, supporting Roman, or is he gonna pull a swerve and help Cody win?
I would hate for it to be a swerve. I would hope that they kind of laid some seeds for him to turn on Roman, because if they go through all this shit and then he establishes himself as we're family, we love each other, and then he turns on Roman for no reason, I'm gonna be like, what the fuck? Like, you just took all the air out of this whole Cody thing.
I mean, remember, some of the best works of The Rock happen from planting seeds. Look at my personal favorite way that The Rock won the title was at Survivor Series 1998, Deadly Games tournament. They were planting seeds throughout weeks going up into that. And then as the night was progressing, we didn't think that, Boss Man was secretly working alongside The Rock. But then when you look back and think about it, that was a quick roll up at the start of the tournament. Wait a minute. He wasn't trying to throw the nightstick to Ken Shamrock. He was throwing it to Rocky. It was different things like that just kind of panned out. So maybe there's little things to start looking for, just like the Deadly Games tournament had.
I think one
great, fantastic. Let's rewatch that, fellas.
I think I was trying to imagine ways for Roman to get involved at WrestleMania without fucking Cody's thing up, because like if he for The Rock to get involved at WrestleMania, because if he screws Roman, then Cody's win is like bullshit. Like, after 2 years, Cody couldn't even get it done on his own. The Rock had to help him. I think he can simply stop interference outside the ring. Intercept,
special enforcer, Mike Tyson, Austin,
type of deal. You basically spend 3 months of them being like, I'm dominant. Well, can you do it without the family? And then when the family tries to help, I'm trying to keep this even or whatever the fuck. But as long as Cody keeps as long as Cody wins and it doesn't look like he won because of The Rock, there's a balance that needs to be had.
Well, and that's what I thought was going to happen last year when Sammy and KO came out to help Cody once the Usos started getting involved. So if they do want to avoid those parallels and make it its own thing, obviously they'll have to say something about what the Bloodline can do at ringside.
I want more Samoan family involvement in this story. I want this to feel like a tribute to their history.
I want Jacob, bro.
I do want Jacob. I do want Jacob, but I also want the older Samoans to give their take. Like, I want them to,
turn their back on Roman. Yeah,
maybe
they just turn around
because they're the ones who gave him the power first. Like, that's an actual story the company told, and I thought that was that was the coolest thing about the Bloodline for me, was that it was an actual story being told. He came here, he said, I'm gonna fucking fix all this shit, I'm gonna be the head of the table and I'm gonna beat your ass, and he proved it to the Samoan elders, and they came and crowned him. You are the tribal chief now. You're the real tribal chief of the Anoa'i clan, So I would love over the next few months with The Rock and Roman being involved together to see the Rikishis and the Alphas and the Sikas and the Jacobs and all these people get involved, because you can have this massive WrestleMania culmination. Like, you could have that giant ass ending for Roman support from the Bloodline, and you've set up your Roman versus The Rock match with all this Samoan history attached to it. I don't know. That's been my dream for this Bloodline story.
Well, I have a question, right? Because I think a lot of where they're gonna go depends on your answer to this question. Do we all think Roman's losing at Mania?
Yeah.
Because if he's not, that changes what they got to set up moving forward, right? Now the SummerSlam thing. Check this out. He's 200 days away from breaking Hogan's record. And if they get it to SummerSlam, I'm not saying they should. I'm a Roman fan, and I think his ass should have lost it like a year ago. It's just been fun watching him keep winning because when you're a fan of him, it's just entertaining. But I really do wonder what their goal is here. If it's Cody, put the belt on that man. He's done enough. Yeah, I've done enough. But if it's Rock, I feel like they're doing that to kind of pull the string and pull the story a bit longer until they're ready for him to finally lose it.
I think it's been said plenty of times on social media and on TV, but if Cody doesn't finish the story at WrestleMania, then there is no finishing the story. Even if they decide that Cody gets another title shot 2 years down the road, and it's against an entirely different champion, and Cody wins it that way, it's going to be a tainted win because he wasn't able to do it when it mattered the most. So yeah, if they're running Cody versus Roman at WrestleMania, it's got to be Cody.
If they run Cody versus Roman at WrestleMania and Cody doesn't win, that was him finishing the story. The story is over.
It didn't have a good ending, but it's over.
Dusty, just like Dusty, you're not a champion.
You died at the end. It happens sometimes. It's really sad.
We gotta get a hologram Dusty Rhodes. Remember who you are, baby.
I've said you need the hologram Dusty. When Cody Rhodes beats The Rock, it needs to literally be Gohan beating Cell at the end of this fucking. Cody needs the ghost of Dusty Rhodes behind him. You thought you didn't have the power in you, baby. The power's in you. You just gotta believe in yourself.
You appreciate Dusty throwing a sensu bean to Roman.
Roman.
Hey Roman, sensu bean. It's like, Dad, why?
I know you can do it, baby. You got this.
If you will.
Daddy's gonna kill me.
You need to beat him at 100% if you will.
The American dream can still flow through the American nightmare, baby.
I wish I could draw. I wish I
gotta say, there's one person who could definitely finish the story if Cody and The Rock can't. And fellas, we all know who that is, brother.
Oh, hell no. Yeah, no, actually, perfect. No, you know what? Perfect WrestleMania ending. Cody actually loses to Roman, and he's distraught. And Hulk Hogan comes out, and he goes, "Brother, I'll take care of him for you, brother. I'll take care of him."
I'm gonna need Oba Femi to throw his ass off the stage and show up there and throw his ass off. Oh my god!
There's your end of WrestleMania. Roman loses to Hulk Hogan by way of he simply being pinned. He tried to spear Hulk and he bounced right off him. The Hulkster, way too powerful.
It was a hologram like Last Jedi, bro. It was
perfect. Saved WWE from the Vince allegations.
Oh god. Oh shit!
Hey, you said fatal four-way, McMahon in every corner, right? That's how we got to do it. We can do the fatal four-way.
It's a triple threat now for reasons that we can't explain on television. A McMahon in most corners. I mean,
they bring in Declan.
Yeah, but they were calling in Declan.
So I mean, that's the WrestleMania press conference. I mean, what else could we say about it? I guess one last question, right? If they did decide to give Roman a match on night one or Cody a match on night one, do Io and Bayley get screwed out of a WrestleMania night one main event?
They're going.
I was talking to Tyler about this before the Raw Rewind on Monday. Shout out to Pro Wrestling Hipster, and they absolutely would get screwed. They deserve to be telling this story in the main event. Like, it's been basically since Asuka and Kairi Sane joined the group. You know, like, this was the story that they were telling of them turning Io on Bayley, and like even for them to not highlight this feud, this actual WrestleMania match that has been booked and made official, and they still chose to highlight the potential of Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch. which I think is supremely disrespectful to both Bayley and Io. This match should be the main event, if for no other reason than Bayley won the Royal Rumble, and if we're going with parity, men to the women, I get that it doesn't work year to year. Stone Cold coming back and main eventing against Kevin Owens, proper example. But it doesn't feel right for this story to get shoved to the side because of The Rock. And if they do end up in any other match spot on the card than the main event, it's a massive slap in the face.
That's a good point. I Becky Lynch versus Rhea Ripley existing is probably going to make the company feel urges to make that the main event.
Yeah,
because Rhea's been probably the biggest star in the company next to Cody for the last year, and because Becky Lynch is a former WrestleMania main eventer, and I'm sure they all they see is fucking numbers. Their pupils are dollar signs, right? So I think they're going to give Becky and Rhea the main event just based off of that. But I agree that it's Bayley who, since she's been sort of Triple H's pet project since he took control of creative. Like, I remember the very first pay-per-view when he came back was the first thing he did. He created Damage Control at that SummerSlam. And this is like the ultimate realization of Triple H's baby, this first storyline that he put out there. So I think he can convince the company to go with Bayley and Io as the WrestleMania Night 1 main event. And that would be such a great gesture to Bayley, who wasn't even on the fucking poster, who didn't even take part in this press conference. Rhea was out there. Becky was out there. Bianca was out there.
Now, okay, to be fair, to be fair, I get that there's more going on than just WrestleMania, even though this is a WrestleMania press conference. They had Bianca out there so that she can shill her Hulu show with Montez Ford. They want to have Rhea out there so that they can shill Perth, and I get them wanting to promote as much as possible. But when you don't make the time for up until the end of this press conference, the only WrestleMania match that you've actually confirmed and started promoting, that is a major misstep.
That's crazy. It's crazy, and I hope that it's part of the story that Bayley's being overlooked. That this is the only thing that would make
She was a pandemic MVP. Remember during the COVID era?
Was. Ding dong, hello.
Both pandemic MVPs. Drew completely overlooked during this too. Don't even forget about the fact Io Sky's the champ.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Drew just did something with Cody, right? Drew's on Cody's radar right now, right? Because he just attacked him.
Yeah.
He's kind of finding himself in the mix with Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, CM Punk. Like, he's doing a lot right now. And honestly, it makes me want to go purchase that new shirt
CM
of his,
Punk shirt.
pointing at the CM Punk tombstone.
Is it weird that it bothers me as an Arrowverse baby, as a fan, that we had to, because I understand we had to legally replace it, but part of me is like, damn, that sucks.
Literally just leave the Photoshop face on top.
The Grant Gustin body. We could have got some. We could have done. How do you license someone from the neck down? How can we get that?
Full circle, bro. Ricky Rabies, he met Stephen Amell. You know what I'm saying? Like,
there it is. There's the connection. Stephen Amell teamed with Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam. There's your connection.
Against Cody at SummerSlam. He teamed.
He teamed with Neville, and then he took Cody's paycheck to work at All In. They've been
They're boys. They besties. They feature each other in everything.
Was Cody ever on heels?
No, but Cody was on Arrow. Cody was on Arrow.
I remember that.
Exactly.
As a villain who sold a drug called Stardust. It was.
I forgot that part.
It was fantastic. It was so good.
I did too until you just mentioned it. But I remember watching that episode and being like that Leonardo DiCaprio meme of like, oh, they said the thing.
He was just Cody too. That's the thing about Cody on television. He wasn't really good at it. He was just Cody. Like, it was just Cody Rhodes on Arrow. I don't think that's how acting works. Well, you know what? The Rock made that work for him. So
because I think, if I remember that timeline correctly, Cody would have just got released, I think, just before or just after that episode hit air. So I think they still guest starring Cody Runnels.
Yeah. It was Cody Reynolds. But again, I don't think he's big. I don't think he's good for Hollywood, which is great because then he can be your top guy here and you'll never lose him.
Full time Cody.
I don't think they would have lost Cody again anyways. Like, unless they monumentally fucked him up, I think that he's WWE for life now. And like, shout out to AEW, props to everything that that he had a hand in starting there, but he doesn't need that company as much as he needed to come back to the WWE and have this chapter of his career.
I think that's certainly that was his perspective for sure. I mean, when he left the WWE, the idea, like watching him hook himself up to the hottest thing, watching him hook himself up to the hottest thing on the indies and ride it all the way through.
Not wear a shirt, but wear the suit.
It was part of why, like, this is the thing about Cody, is that this Cody Rhodes character that he's basically been since he left the WWE. Like, the instant he left the WWE, this Cody Rhodes that you're seeing on television, this has been him all the way through.
Sharpening it. He's been sharpening it.
He decided, I'm going to be the top guy. I'm going to be John Cena. You know, I'm going to be Ric Flair. I'm going to be Dusty Rhodes. And you have to dress for success, right? That's why you always have the damn suits at basketball gyms and shit. So I don't know that character was ever going to work in the AEW environment, like, especially when they were so half and half on it. He wasn't ready to be. He was so scared to fully realize that part of himself because of the politics of him being the EVP. That it was just, there was too much clashing going on, and so eventually the fans
out of title contention.
Yeah, and eventually the fans did turn on that idea, and so that Cody Rhodes fits perfectly in a WWE environment. He fit in like a fucking Barbie into a box. Like, he was his plastic mold. This is where he belonged. This is I wouldn't want to see him go back.
Speaking of AEW, do you see our girl Jade on the card for WrestleMania this year?
Yeah, absolutely. She's going to be on a Mountain Dew ad during the Super Bowl with Aubrey Plaza.
Oh yeah, jumping into the ring. Aubrey does a frog splash. Yeah,
no, Jade frog splashes Aubrey. She just lays there. Okay. It's out already. I think if you debuted her at the Royal Rumble, then you have to, because like you inserted her into the road to WrestleMania. Like, you've done the thing. People immediately assumed it was going to be like Jade versus Bianca or something, but then they both were in an interview saying like, what if we wanted a team? Like, did nobody ask?
No, I was about to say Jade and Bianca against Damage Control for the titles, bro. Bucket.
That'd be actually really good. Bianca Jade versus Kairi and Asuka. I'd like to see that.
One of the other things I could see them doing, knowing how the WWE mind functions, and especially with just how convoluted their stories have been getting, and not that that's a bad thing by any means. Sometimes, hey, right. Interwoven storytelling is what made the year 2000 great, and I keep revisiting that for a reason. But I'm thinking they could easily throw Jade on there for like a whatever their 20-woman battle royal is on like one of the.
Andre the Giant Women's Battle Royal.
Andrea the
Giant.
Did they ever rename that? Why did they just name it like the Mae Young?
It's the Mae Young.
They did rename it. They renamed it to get the fuck off the card. We're not doing this again, Battle Royale.
Snickers doesn't want this match to happen. Battle Royale.
We have 2 days, but we can't fit in a Battle Royale to put in the rest of our fucking wrestlers on the card. Battle Royale.
Snickers said no. Battle Royale.
Absolutely. LA Knight's about to be not doing nothing.
So
LA Knight. Yeah.
I was gonna say, man, I have a couple other subjects we had to get to, but CJ was gone. He was gonna come back into a whole nother conversation.
I had some camera trouble, so I was here the whole time just trying to figure out my technical stuff.
Like the spirit of Dusty Rhodes. Watching over Cody.
In with the WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal, you just have, whatever you call it, you have to make sure it's sponsored by Snickers.
I was saying Snickers, man.
Sponsored by Snickers. We need to get some new sponsors, man. Y'all making all these moves.
They got one night, Snickers the other night. Let's go.
Slim Jim and Snickers. It's been Snickers for the last. Snickers has sponsored every WrestleMania for the last 20 years. Or did they sponsor
it hasn't been 20 years.
I feel like I saw them sponsor WrestleMania 15.
It might have been like a one-off, but I think their brand deal has only been like the last 5 or 6 years.
Actually, no. Snickers Cruncher presents WrestleMania 20. It's been 20 years. It's actually been 20 years of Snickers sponsoring WrestleMania.
Okay, hang on. Let's fact check this a little more because it's been 20 years since
I don't know straight. Yeah, I don't know if it's been 20 years straight.
Not straight.
So I will not use that word.
Hey,
but it has been 20 years
32
of WrestleMania Snickers advertisements. Holy shit. Funny. How can we Google this?
I have a list right here. Snickers on the Pro.
That's just such a very specific Google search.
I have the list. Okay, so according to the Pro Wrestling Wiki, Halloween Havoc 98, WrestleMania 2000, WrestleMania X7, King of the Ring 2002, WrestleMania 19, 20, 21, 22. We have, then it skips a few years, and then we get to 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39.
Yep.
So it's shit, even Halloween Havoc.
I thought the first time. Wow.
Holy shit. I didn't see that coming. I thought 2004 was far enough.
Hey, remember
Halloween
Havoc? I remember because they had the little Snickers right in front of that really cool demon WCW had that was like on the pumpkin. Remember that?
Yeah.
Somebody said LA Knight versus The Rock for the rights of the gimmick. The Rock just takes him to court. He just sues him. He doesn't wrestle him.
That match just televised.
CM Punk style.
I'm bringing in my witness, Stone Cold Steve Austin, who you've also stole from. Oh shit!
That promo happens in the ring, but you don't find out until later. It's actually just LA Knight standing there with a mirror.
Oh god. I'm down.
Like a real son of a bitch in this business.
Playing both parts too.
Of a champion.
So I mean. There's literally nothing else we can say about WrestleMania for now until we've been given some more context. But it's an
hashtag bring in Dixie Carter. Let's do it.
Let's get it. So I did. They were about
perfect segue to talk about Scott D'Amore and TNA.
Speaking about Dixie Carter, a couple of the other big stories of the week. Anthem fires Scott D'Amore by way of just him doing too good. What kind of shit?
Powerful. Let's stop him.
You've become too good for your own. You become too great for your own good. You must go now.
But like for them to cut ties over him wanting to add to the budget, like there were a million other steps you could have taken before just cutting him loose.
Okay, so just to give complete context to the situation in case you don't know everything. Scott D'Amore was fired seemingly out of nowhere to us because all we know as fans is like they've been doing incredible. He's rebuilt the company from scratch. My man deconstructed Impact to the atom. Built it all the way back up. Reestablished the relationship with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Fucking impossibility. He pulled that off.
He got Okada on the card, bro. What the?
He got Okada to come back to TNA. This is fucking insane, right? Established a relationship with the WWE.
Yeah.
What the fuck? So, growing off that context, I'm sorry, I've got kids and one of them is screaming in the background for some reason. No respect. You get no respect. Rodney Dangerfield over here. So all we know is that he's been doing great, right? But as it turns out, Anthem has also Anthem has also took notice of the success that Scott D'Amore's had with Impact, and in their minds, they need to establish some business executives in his position instead. Now, there had been rumors that they actually just didn't like how closely associated Impact was with Scott D'Amore, rather than Impact being associated with Anthem. That kind of sounds petty, and it sounds like one of those things that's like, well, that can't be, right? But we've seen instances of businesses and giant billionaires and corporations being that kind of petty a lot. Sometimes it's not petty in their minds. Sometimes in their minds, Impact being closely associated with Anthem is important for the Anthem brand because people are excited for TNA, but nobody gives a fuck about Anthem. So now they want to have excitement around Anthem instead.
What does Anthem even do? What were they?
What do you do? You just put money into the thing.
We did this already. We put owls on all the titles and stuff like that. Remember, we tried this already.
That was an era. That was a time frame. They are the cockroaches.
I think the owls got removed from the TNA titles, and that's why they fired Scott.
Remember, fuck that owl chance. Like, so just to provide some more context, it came out of nowhere. It came out of nowhere so hard that people thought, considering the Vince stuff, like he must have done something. He must have said something. He must have touched someone. There must have been something. And there were even journalists irresponsibly speculating that he had. But the report came out that they simply wanted to fold Impact into the Anthem business and entertainment arm, and they wanted to take control and raise budgets here and raise production value. But Scott D'Amore wanted to use the funds in his own way to build TNA in his own image, to go after Will Ospreay's, to go after Mercedes Moné's, to build wrestling the way he knows how to build wrestling as a wrestling executive.
For 20 plus years, man. It kind of reminds me of when they let go of AJ. I'm like, you guys know who that person was to your company? Like, why would you? Someone who does so much work and so much tireless work. Listen, I got off the TNA bus. I did. I'll go be the first one to admit it. But while people weren't watching, he created a product that made people want to again. And that's huge. And the idea that, like, well, we want to take this very valuable company, but we don't want you with it. Hey, there wouldn't be any value in that company if he wasn't there. So the idea that you would take, the company that, again, wouldn't be as valuable if he didn't put his contributions in it, and think you can still do it without him, it just speaks to that weird corporate wrestling that always, when corporations kind of stick their nose into the whole wrestling creative of it all and think they can pick and choose who they want to put in place, and then you blink and you end up calling Eric Bischoff back over. You understand? Like, so it's gonna get dangerous.
And I'm completely on board with what you're saying too, and I completely agree with it all. But just for the purpose of playing devil's advocate here, and unfortunately, literally devil's advocate, the same conversation was had when Vince McMahon was told to step down the first time, and they're like, oh no, his identity is WWE. Obviously, Scott D'Amore is not at the same level to TNA, what Vince McMahon was to WWE, and I'm not trying to draw any parallels to say that Scott D'Amore is TNA's Vince McMahon, but there is a massive disconnect as far as what Anthem wants to do and what Scott can do to grow the business. And Scott, there would not have been an Impact to rebrand to TNA without Scott D'Amore. So for them to have such a careless position on just letting him go is, I think they may find themselves reversing that position sooner rather than later.
I mean, I believe as well. Like, I want to. Sorry to interrupt you there, John.
No, it's all good.
But like, especially George, on your point, I wanted to say that it feels a lot like, like when you mentioned like AJ Styles, like he was like the heart and soul of TNA. It feels a lot like, like a Tommy Dreamer, how he was the heart and soul of ECW. And to that point, it looks, and this Tommy Dreamer is probably getting PTSD right now, just looking at everything that's going on. It feels like they just like ousted Paul Heyman from ECW almost. That's how I'm feeling with Scott D'Amore getting out of there.
It's just this. I feel like this is different from a lot of those situations because I think WWE was always going to be okay with Vince because towards the end he became a hindrance. He was actually a weight holding them down from their potential. Whereas Scott D'Amore at this point in TNA's history was the wings and the legs and the fingers and all the things that made
the central nervous system.
At times, the money.
Basically, right? So to his credit, he did see the writing on the wall. It wasn't out of nowhere to him. He had been aware that this was coming for a little while now, but he did not stop working to make Impact and TNA a better brand. Even knowing this, he still booked the Ospreay match against Alexander. He still had the Hard to Kill pay-per-view, the Snake Eyes show after, complete successes. He offered to buy the company outright with the backing of a banker that's a mystery person. Of a bank, not a banker, excuse me. Although it could be a banker. We don't know. Rich person, mystery rich guy. And was denied.
Howie Mandel calling the banker.
I believe that it was a case of Anthem seeing the success and deciding that it got too big for this wrestling carny guy. In their minds, it sucks. It sucks so fucking bad. But the corporate bullshit is that mindset right there. Okay, they've become so successful. We need to insert our own executives in place of this wrestling promoter, and we need to take it to the next level. And the statement, it was a fucking wall of text.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, what the hell?
In that wall of text, towards the end, they mentioned being inspired by other promotions turning from event-based companies to global businesses. So they were literally
one
inspired
step at
by
a time. One step at a time.
Yeah, right.
Bro. Come on.
But that's that sick corporate mindset. That's that, we're not making enough. We need to maximize what we can get out of this without thinking of the details that go into it. We're just looking at this plain objective facts that don't actually have all the factors in it, but we're just looking at this objective fact that we'd have here and we're going to work off of it without making any effort to look into the details.
Let's bring in Jim Herd. Let's do it.
It's that situation. It's literally the Jim Herd situation.
Yeah.
It's so fucked up. Everybody's made the joke about how the minute they rebranded to TNA, it became, LOL TNA fucking business practices reemerged. But it's like he brought back the ghost of Dixie Carter by accident.
It's funny that you make a lot of points because that's something that's kind of permeated professional wrestling for decades. This idea that the wrestling guy could do well, but we need an executive here. We need we need a businessman here in this position. That's how you get a Nick Khan, right? That's how you get a situation like that where it's like he's not done a lick in the professional wrestling space, but it doesn't matter. He's a businessman, and it just sucks to see it go like this because it feels like Ray's Famous Pizza blew up and now you're firing Ray and no one asked him what the ingredients were. And so now we're about to just try to sell Ray's Famous Pizza.
You're absolutely right.
How we got here. And I
just think even more than that, even beyond that, now you've got the issue of he was such a big part of the company that all the fucking talent is going to go.
No, well, and that's why I figured it's going to happen sooner rather than later that TNA is going to bring Scott D'Amore back. And I am 80% sure that I've been pronouncing it Scott D'Amore because I've heard it said on TNA television before. But you guys are saying D'Amore, and I'm okay, I'm Canadian, Scott's Canadian. I should know this.
I don't know. It's a D. There's an apostrophe. Did you see how they spelled it, though? When
the apostrophe.
When Scott was a jobber in WCW, that's how they always pronounced it. But then again, it's the same.
That's WCW.
They used to say Kensuke. So
Kensuke.
I'm a New Yorker, so if you want to go Scott D'Amore, we could do that too.
Hey, I'm Italian. Scott D'Amore.
When the moon hits the sky, you will fire your guy, Scott D'Amore.
We've seen this before. Dare I say, this is the potential for Impact Noah.
We'll see. I think there's a lot of things that could still happen with TNA and everything, but when you pissed off all the talent, you got rid of the heart. That's not good. So unless they bring him back, and it doesn't actually look like they're planning on doing that right now, I think they'd have to. Unfortunately, they're going to have to fail before they realize that they fucked up. And I don't know that TNA can afford to fail again, especially at this point when everything looks so well. I feel bad for the Zigglers and the Alis who got involved with them at this point, thinking it was going to get crazy. I see Will Ospreay over there wiping sweat off his fucking head because he considered this shit for an instant.
Moose resigned knowing Scott was there and resigned because Scott was there.
Moose had to get off of Twitter. He didn't even want to say nothing. He said, I'll be back in a few days. I fucked up. And I mean, and so beyond that, while the world of pro wrestling deals with things like that, another fucking booker, heart of a company, gone. Rossy Ogawa.
Promoter this year.
So Rossy Ogawa founded Stardom about 13 years ago, 2011. Gave birth to the career of wrestlers like Io Shirai, Kairi Sane. The list goes on and on. Piper Niven made her name in there. Toni Storm made her name in there. The Gaijins would go to Japan and they'd get reps in and they'd come back fucking excellent, a whole new wrestler. So he's basically gained the trust and love of a lot of girls on the roster in Stardom. It was once he sold the company in 2019 in an attempt to help him grow it. The mindset is lost on me because I don't think he realized you can't sell something and expect to still have agency. But he did.
And so he cannibalized. Yeah,
he sold it to BUSHIROAD, and he was under the impression, and they did tell him, to his credit, that he was going to be the booker. He was going to make the executive decisions. And then pretty much immediately they told him, okay, that main girl you got, Mayu Iwatani, we don't think she's as marketable as somebody like Julia or anybody. Momo, I don't think I like her. I don't think she's as marketable as this person or that person. And that was the beginning of years of corporate interference over and over and over and over again. And at a certain point, Rossy decided, I am leaving. I don't want shit to do with this place anymore. I am going to start my own company. And to which BUSHIROAD said, you know what? We support that idea. Not only that, how about in 2 years, you and I, we run a Stardom versus Rossy company angle. And he was like, I don't want nothing to do with that shit. But thank you very much. So the word gets out to the girls in the locker room that Rossy is leaving. And sides begin to be chosen. Girls start openly talking about they don't want to work here anymore and they want to leave with Rossy. And so the company takes that as he's stealing our fucking girls. He's poaching them.
That was the poaching reports.
Yeah, so that's why they considered him poaching. There's also reports that he might have had a hand in Kyrie coming back to WWE and Julia deciding to leave the WWE, but that is a little bit, that's disingenuous reporting. The only factor he played in Kyrie going back to the WWE is that he's leaving, and she decided she didn't want to be in Stardom if Rossy wasn't going to be there anymore. And so the same thing goes for girls like Julia, who decided they're going to leave if Rossy's not going to be in Stardom. But Julia is a special case because she told the WWE specifically, I'm not going to come over to America until I help him start up his new company. So she's firmly taken her stance. She's chosen her side, and she's sticking with Rossy, who brought her to the dance. But there's girls like Micah, who are world champion now, top of the card now, who were probably chosen more by BUSHIROAD than Rossy. And they've decided, I'm going to stick with Stardom and I'm going to help build what the fuck I've been doing here. And so you've got this situation now where this one big happy family is kind of splitting in half. And girls are now starting to talk publicly. I think Micah said she's staying in Stardom. Mayu Iwatani can't leave because she's locked down in the company until her movie comes out. They're making a movie about her life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But most of the girls who can leave and who have any loyalty to Rossy will be leaving. Some of them have even been threatened legally by BUSHIROAD because they don't seem to understand that this is simply a loyalty thing, not a business thing. But that's
how vibes based has professional wrestling been since this year started, right? It's not about money for a lot of these people, for a lot of these companies, for a lot of these fans. It's been about vibes, and people can tell when the vibes are off, and these Stardom women absolutely understand what's going on here in this situation.
You can't blame them. I mean, just common, without having any context and knowing how or why they feel this way, just common human fucking emotions. The guy gave you an opportunity. He's treated you well. He's being mistreated. You feel you're being mistreated. So now we'll leave and go somewhere where we feel we can be treated better together. That's just obvious shit. But
I mean, it got turned. A lot of the situation with like another Japanese Big Japan Pro Wrestling, and when Samurai TV wanted to bring in a lot of their own like real good looking stars, because the wrestlers covered in scars isn't the greatest for advertising. But then you've got guys like Miyamoto who come in, and then the people who want Ryoji Ito or Shadow WX. And yes, I am out of myself as a deathmatch wrestling fan. I don't care, but like it just goes to show that there is this different level of, and even though it's like Japanese pro wrestling, a lot of people think that there's not a lot of like corporate involvement, but there definitely is, especially when it comes time for like a BUSHIROAD or a Samurai TV to be taking over.
Any pro wrestling company that has a corporate entity that funnels money into it is subject to being interfered with by that corporate entity at any point.
100%,
people are putting their money into your shit, and they have their own ideas of what's going to work and what isn't. And when they see what they think is a stumble, they're going to step in. I'm fascinated by this because I am a massive All Japan Pro Wrestling fan. 1990s All Japan Pro Wrestling is like my favorite era in all of professional wrestling history. Not only my favorite, I'd objectively say it's the greatest, and I'll fucking have a whole 3-hour fight about it. But they towards the end of that era, in about the year 2000, Mitsuharu Misawa, one of the very top guys of All Japan Pro Wrestling, after the death of Giant Baba, who was the main booker and the person who supported Misawa throughout his whole rise, decided that he could not deal with Miss Baba's booking and the things that were happening post Baba. So he fucking separated. He took half the roster left with him, and they started the arc Pro Wrestling Noah. And Pro Wrestling Noah still exists to this day as the arc. So we're witnessing that shit live. Right, this has only ever been a history lesson to me. Seeing it happen, as sad as it is that it had to get here, I am fucking fascinated. I love this. This is like my favorite story of the year right now.
I feel like too, this again, I'm thinking of like more examples, and I keep thinking like Japanese pro wrestling. Look at what happened with FMW when they started getting way more corporate and whatnot, and kind of pushing out a lot of their deathmatch guys. And it's just like, we only have Hayabusa, and then Hayabusa gets hurt. Now what? No one cares anymore.
So it's gonna be really. No, go ahead, George.
I'm a bit. This is a bit of a blind spot for me. So, out of curiosity, does Ogawa have much of a hill to climb to if he wanted to establish his own promotion, or has he made enough inroads where that could be a very viable business venture for him?
Two things. One, when he sold Stardom to Bushiroad, the rumor is he got paid very well. Well enough to start a promotion. The other thing is, talent, right? I think that he will have no issue getting talent because there are a lot of girls who feel they owe their careers to him. There's a lot of girls on this side of the world who feel they owe their careers to him, and if they decide that they don't want to work where they're working anymore, you've got big stars who could possibly come back to Rossy off of television to his new promotion. There's a lot. He's not going to be fucked here, I believe. I think he's actually going to end up A-okay. My concern is, as a Stardom fan, what comes next? Because you've taken not just the figurative heart of Stardom, right? You're taking the booker. You took the storyteller.
That's the brain. Yeah.
You took the heart and the brain, and you scared it away. And what you've done is you basically created Stardom over there. Like, why should I watch this Stardom? The real Stardom is whatever Rossy's doing. All the girls are going over there. My only emotional connection that keeps me at Stardom is some of the girls who have decided that they want to stick around. Micah, I fucking love Micah. I was so excited when she won the red belt. And that part of me is like, well, I know that wasn't a Rossy decision. That was BUSHIROAD. So it's like, well then. I can't call anybody a bad guy here. They've serviced me as a fan a couple times too. If they were the ones behind Mina Shirakawa's push, then they're A-okay with me. But it's certainly gonna be an interesting story to watch develop as the year goes on, because this is just the beginning of it. Now the next part of the story is which girls are going to be leaving. Which ones
they just need an NXT. They just need an NXT 2.0 rebrand, bro. Colors, you know what I'm saying? Just bunch of tie dye. There you go. That's what you do when somebody creative leaves.
It's gonna be fun. I'll say that much.
I don't follow a lot of Japanese wrestling, and I don't follow Stardom in particular. So, what are the chances that this promotion that Ogawa's starting is going to be men and women, or is it going to be a direct competition specifically to Stardom?
Yeah, just knowing that he started Stardom as a place where the woman can have the kind of wrestling that he wanted to see, I'm pretty sure he's going to start another all women's promotion. And now, whether you agree with Rossy's vision of what women's wrestling is a whole nother story, because the early days of Stardom, okay, excellent wrestling, excellent opportunity created for women around the world to come wrestle. You also had the girls were not forced, but highly encouraged to do the bikini books and the gravure stuff, and that was his vision. Partly, it was like, by selling this kind of stuff, you create an emotional attachment to the girls in the ring as well, right?
Foot in the door, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You get your foot in the door by selling the bikini books and the calendar books and everything. And once they sold the BUSHIROAD, they did move away from that. And obviously, it's a big multi-millionaire fucking company. I don't know how much they're actually worth. I'm sure it's a decent amount. They have fun card games. But now that he's separated from that corporate business, I do wonder if he's going to go back to we're putting them damn bikini books back out, baby. We get the grab year going.
Can you get away with that in
Do you want this stardom or this stardom?
That's the thing. That was a product of the time as well.
Yeah, that's another thing. It is 2024, and I do wonder how much of that is wanted in wrestling.
And to be fair, if he's starting a new promotion with established stars, he doesn't need to create that emotional connection because the connection's already there.
That's very true. That's very true.
On top of that, you can easily bring in a lot of newer people or people that just haven't had the opportunity to be seen on that type of a scale before because of the fact that he is such a respected figure within women's wrestling.
One of the girls who left earlier, this girl, Sayaka Unagi, she left Stardom previously. I feel like she jumped off the sinking ship. She went freelance. She started working the smaller promotions, and now she's building her own buzz in America. And she did all that out of Stardom. So, she's one of the girls that I feel might actually be primed to come on over to Rossy's new promotion with a lot of buzz coming from America and a new star that he can build on. I mean, he's got a lot of options to be successful.
You know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here.
He's got a lot of options, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that. But that doesn't mean I'm just going to stop watching Stardom either, because there's girls that I really enjoy that are going to be in that company. So we'll be.
Do you think Rossy's creative influence will be felt in him leaving?
Yes.
Do you see a lot of that changing, booking?
Absolutely. Like that's what scares me mostly, because he was the booker. He fucking told the stories.
Did Rossy have a second in command?
Not like that. I'm sure he's had a team. I'm sure he has assistants and whatnot, but there's no known person that seconds Rossy and can continue his influence. Kind of like the way they tried to pacify people with the Scott D'Amore thing is when he left, his creative team is still in place. Whatever that means. Rossy Stardom doesn't even have that. So that's an issue. But it's a story that will follow along as it goes, because it's just going to keep getting bigger.
But at this point, is Tony Khan the only promoter that still hasn't been hit by the Grim Reaper this year?
He's
Billy Corgan.
Billy Corgan got hit by the Grim Reaper last year. He put it in.
Okay. I mean, they're still going ahead with the NWA debut on CW. So is it really that bad? He hasn't been removed from the company, so it
what
can't
happened
be as bad.
So they're going forward with the NWA on CW, right? But they lost out on 4 months worth of promoting NWA on CW, and now the only people who know NWA is going to be on the channel are people who follow NWA. The CW's put all their effort into NXT now. They're going to put all their effort into NXT now. No issue with that. So I think
CW Seed, bro. CW Seed. Watch.
NWA's got a large hill to climb. I don't know if it's impossible to get out their hole, but they made the hole.
But they can do it with Billy Corgan.
They can. Although it's been a few years, and I feel like the missing influence of Dave Lagana has really been felt, and that hole's never been filled creatively.
Is it bad? I honestly forgot all about the NWA and Billy Corgan.
Yeah, no, it's not. I don't blame you. The only reason I still remember them is because I get emails. I was on their media thing.
John, unsubscribe right now. Save yourself.
Carneyland? You're in Carneyland, bro? What's going on here?
So I guess one last thing we had to talk about before we get out of here. Big fucking business, baby. Tony Khan made the announcements last night. He didn't announce Mercedes Moné officially.
I was about to say
he strongly hinted that he had acquired the boss as this very similar looking graphic situation, and a very obvious hint on the bottom of the screen kind of gave away what big business is going to be all about.
Okada, let's go.
I just want to say, as a Mercedes Moné fan, as a Sasha Banks fan, as somebody who's been a Sasha Banks fan since the NXT days, goddamn, I am so fucking excited. She had gotten so much respect from me. Like, I loved her so much already as a wrestler, but when she decided that she just had enough, she threw their fucking belt on the desk and said, "I am leaving. I want my respect.
I'm going to join the Mandalorian."
That shit touches me so much. That's the kind of shit that resonates with me. You believing in yourself the way she did. I love that shit. People call her arrogant for that. Could you believe that shit? I'm like, that's
no Sasha slander, bro. I mean, come on. I am a huge
racist undertones.
I'm a huge E fan, and with all this stuff going on with Bailey and Damage Control, I thought they could have slotted Sasha right in there. But get that bag, girl. Go ahead, make your money, make your moments. Come back and be the highest paid woman in WWE history in 10 years.
Beyond that,
go do it, man.
Beyond that, I don't
years though.
I'm not coping. I'm not coping about her just needing to do it for the bag. That's a cope, and I will tell you why. This idea that she only went to AEW because they paid her more, right? Because she considered a WWE deal. I believe that beyond the dollar amount that she was offered by AEW, her need for WWE to pay her that much came from the disrespect that they had shown her when she left. If you really want me back after you shitted on me, pay me like a fucking queen or don't, right? Because as a fan, she's done every fucking thing you can do in that company. I have there's no new, I don't have no interest in seeing her do nothing there anymore. What's she gonna face Bailey again? Wow. What's she gonna, she'll face Rhea Ripley. They haven't done that one yet. Like, that's cool.
Charlotte number 25,952.
We got to see her not only fucking tell them to fuck off. She went out, she lived her dream in Japan, but she only had like 3 matches. She basically opened my eyes to all of the different kind of wrestling Mercedes could take a part in. I don't want her to go back into the box. She's free. She could wrestle so many other girls all over the world. It's not just AEW either, because of the unique situation that AEW presents.
The freedom in New Japan,
their wrestlers. She can wrestle all over the fucking world. The Japan dream doesn't have to end. She's signed to AEW, but it's literally been reported that New Japan and AEW are already talking about how they're going to keep using her. So, like,
and Willow's right there, bro. Willow's right there.
You got the Willow rematch.
I just thought about that. We didn't even bring that up yesterday.
We didn't, right? The Willow rematch. She owes her. She owes her that W. I feel like there's so much more to be done. There's so much more for Mercedes to do, and not just to do. AEW's been slowly preparing to sign Mercedes Moné by rebuilding their women's division. They've spent the last 3 to 4 to 5 months creating new characters, creating new feuds, reestablishing old girls, establishing new girls, so that when they do debut Mercedes, it's not this empty, it's just Mercedes. What is she going to do here?
Yeah.
She's got a whole fucking female roster of girls that she can have programs with. She can have excellent B matches with, A matches with. They set this up so perfectly for her. They built her a throne she can sit on. I want to see Mercedes treated like that. I'm a Sasha Banks fan. I want to see her treated like that. If she goes back to WWE right now, I don't even think she fits. I think they've got so much fucking high quality top shit going on that she gets a mid-card space at best. Yeah. I don't want that for her. I want to see her sit on top of this shit, travel the world, have sick-ass matches that remind me of her and Bailey in NXT. That's just me as a Sasha fan. Like, that's what I want to see. And obviously, because I prefer AEW style of wrestling, I do want to see what the fuck she's going to do over in this company for the next, I don't know, 3 to 5 years, however many. I assume 3 years. I can't imagine she locked herself down for that long. She seems like a free bird type.
I think if Tony was willing to sign her, then he'd pay for what she wanted for 5 years.
Yeah, I would hope that as you said, as a business person, he has to get the most out of his investment. And if you're going to pay her the massive amount that people claim that she wanted, you should probably extend it for as long as possible so you don't put all your effort in and then she just, goes back. Like, oh shit,
we pop that
But
graphic
I
back
mean,
up
like
for a second?
you pitched a dream scenario for her to basically come in and be the uncrowned queen of AEW's women's division. And if she's getting that plus the truck full of money backed up her driveway, I think she very feasibly could just say, I'm gonna retire here.
It absolutely could happen. Especially if it's 5 years of consistently like the top. I can see it. You go ahead, Nick.
I was gonna say, we pop that graphic up for me real quick. Again, even just like look at just that whole, like, the several rows on the bottom, like even just beyond Mercedes, like we're gonna have some top quality women's wrestling in AEW. Like, look at just that amazing crop of talent, and then on top of that, you add the icing on the cake when it comes down to Mercedes in there. And like it again, we got like the gatekeeper with Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. Yep. You got, you know, the talent, like Athena's just been on fire on Ring of Honor. I've been watching. One of the things is I'm watching for her because she's that good. I mean, even just someone with such experience that has been like an Emi Sakura, like, oh, there's just so much potential for them to wrestle each other and with Mercedes. So there's nowhere but up. And then on top of that, throw in Okada, throw in Ospreay wrestling with the men. Like, there's so many cool matches that AEW is going to be having this year. And then on top of that, the rise of Swerve. Oh, it's going to be good stuff.
Oh, well, look, we got to.
Tony Khan in the comments.
King Khan, let's go.
Well, okay. And the important thing is to say 3 times that our company has not signed Sasha. Very good. They signed Mercedes.
They did. You're absolutely right.
Sasha, I also want to be a fly on the wall when she gets back there with Saraya. And she's like, "Hey,
girl,
that's another big feud." And to that point in the graphic, that's still not even everybody. That is just a selection of AEW's women's division.
Yep. So there's still the girls that are coming up.
Choices.
The Aminatas, you know, like there's so much potential here that I just wasn't ready to see Mercedes go back in the box. That was my thing. Like, I was very happy with what she was doing. I can't wait to see it continue.
That locker room could also learn a lot from her. It's so crazy that we live in a world where our heroes probably were around in professional wrestling in one singular company for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. We're getting to see this younger crop that's taking care of themselves, being more healthy, training harder. Last 20, you know, like Kofi Kingston's been in WWE for like damn near 20 years at this point. Sasha Banks has, Mercedes Moné has 10 years in her career already, and I think it's just getting started. Well, you just said this is bursting open the doors. Not only can she give people all the wisdom that she's learned in those 10 years wrestling for the biggest company in the world, but she still has paths that she wants to blaze. She's still got things that she wants to do. There's still things on her to-do list. That's got to be hella exciting in general.
I think she kind of teased, like, she had been really emotional early this year. Nobody knew why, and I think now we can see, like, she probably signed a big ass contract and was promised a lot of things. I am really excited to see her, like Nick said, in 2024 AEW, because it's not just her. You know, they've got a lot of things brewing and cooking. Yeah. I mean, obviously I'm a fan of the company, right? If I wasn't, we wouldn't fucking be here. This $1,000 fucking belt and be sitting next to my head.
But $1,000?
It was in fact $900. It is also
you got it in 2019, didn't you? Didn't you get the year everything started?
I got it. I pre-ordered it in 2020 and they delivered it in 2021. It was the first batch. And it's it's pretty much almost exactly what you would see on television, to the point where Kenny Omega used a replica on real leather as champion. But that's just me talking shit. As a fan of the company, I have noticed a lot of improvement since the end of the year. I mean, even on the fucking podcast, I was shitting on their booking. I was shitting all over the booking in AEW, which is like, coming from me, you know, it had to be some shit, because the devil thing was in the mud. They had lost balance.
The world ended.
They had completely lost balance trying to entertain sports entertainment fans, and I thought it was a massive mistake. They got lost in the idea that they have to stretch beyond themselves and reach out towards the mythical casual fan, and they lost themselves entirely. They became WWE light. It was scary.
At least we have Continental
and
Classic.
to be fair, they started up at the worst possible time in retrospect. Like, you couldn't have imagined starting this company, touring for the first few, it was like a year or something, and then all of a sudden a global pandemic hits and you basically get sidelined. Yeah. So now, like, they did well, I think, by appealing to the broader demographic of wrestling. Like, that's where I found myself enjoying AEW, and then I started enjoying it less when they left the sports entertainment stuff behind. I love watching WWE in particular because I love those the stories. Like, that's what I get invested in. Technical wrestling talent is a very close second, but I still enjoy getting into the stories. And I don't see that as much in modern day AEW, but that's not a bad thing. You know, they found their identity, but they had to start with casting that wide net to catch everybody, and then they whittled it down from there, and now they have the audience they want.
I think that you should always, that's like, I mean, speaking generally, it sounds like I'm like, you should always at least try. There should be an element of the show that tries to reach you. However, you should just watch WWE. You know, like, you should just watch Raw. Like, leave me with my shit. You know, like, I don't want to watch.
I get that.
I will watch. I will watch AEW if I see something coming up that I think I'm going to enjoy. I will tune in. It's not like I'm going online and actively railing against the company because it doesn't do what I want.
But that's a big thing.
I say that literally a week after bawling my eyes out because they didn't book my guy. But
it's all hard.
But I love what AEW's doing for themselves, and I recognize that they're not catering to my individual wants. But again, like, they had to kind of take longer to find themselves because the pandemic really threw them off.
Here's something I want to say too is, why does sports entertainment have to always be considered the thing that appeals to the casual fan? Because the case I'm going to bring up is my own mother. She is, by no means, the most hardcore wrestling fan in the world, and there was a lot of wrestling she herself personally did not like. However, when you look at the different, like, hardcore wrestling, the acrobatics with all the different high flyers, there's a lot of different aspects and elements in there that appealed to her much more than the straight up storylines from a WWE. And I don't know, I think there's a lot of things, like, when you watch, like, the luchadors and when you watch, like, the Martin brothers wrestling, like, I know, like, the Martins versus the Jacksons was one of the matches that really made my mom go, like, okay, this is something. And she likes to watch a lot of those, like, athletic agile performances in the ring.
I'll say real quick, I'll just say that I agree with a little bit of what everybody said here. I'm mostly a WWE fan. I do like a lot of what AEW is doing, but sometimes I think that they step on their own dick sometimes when it comes to certain things. What I will say is I do put storytelling first. And I was feeling a bit iffy about what AEW was doing until Danielson showed up, because he found a way to make the wrestling his storyline. He found a way to sports entertain by being a bully heel and whooping people's asses when he first started showing up, and he was doing that heel run where he was embarrassing people like Evil Uno. Like, he was in the ring, slapping people in the head, and and it gave me an emotional reaction. I'm like, why is he being such an asshole? But that's the character. The character is, I'm so good at this that I could bring anyone in here and just whoop their ass. And that, I wanted more of that. I do think Joe's is very similar. I do think that they can find a way to sports entertain with their wrestling. Let the story still be told, but the story gets told bell to bell, as opposed to, more bigger skits and vignettes kind of stuff.
That's exactly why I watch AEW, because I feel like, when I say sports entertainment, that doesn't just mean stories. There's a misconception that there's just fucking random ass matches happening on AEW, because it's not surrounded with a 15-minute promo or a 30-minute promo in some cases. Their stories are told both within a ring and sometimes with just a backstage segment of a dude looking into a camera and saying, I got my ass beat. I don't feel good about it. I'm going to go home. I'm going to figure something out and I'll be back. And the story is when he comes back, what is he going to do in the ring? I noticed there was actually one particular tweet, and I couldn't upload it onto here, but I'm not going to read the whole thing anyway. But the general idea was from someone who watched Dynamite last night. And the guy goes, I don't watch much AEW, but, besides the Hangman shit, like, where are all the storylines? And the dude that watches Dynamite goes, what the fuck are you talking about? You had Tony Deanna, you had Orange Cassidy's furthering storyline, you had the fucking show end with the Young Bucks and Sting. Yeah, you had the Undisputed Kingdom taking out Chuck Taylor. What are you talking about? And the guy goes, they just wrestled. There was no segment or nothing to move the storyline. That's the stuff I want to see. That's why there will never be. There's no way you can service that fan with this product without losing this fan.
No, and I get now why you were telling me not to watch. And I should clarify, I'm not that particular kind of WWE fan. Like, I recognize that AEW does tell stories, and I should rephrase. It's not that they don't tell stories. It's that I find that I can get invested easier in WWE stories than I can with AEW stories. It's not that I like even the first few years when they had their big feuds, and like I knew the recognizable names. I was learning the bigger names that I wasn't familiar with before. And what I see now is a lot of, okay, well, now I have to know who this person from New Japan is in order to make this story make sense. I have to know XYZ of this person's history outside the company to know why this story is making sense. So I can't get as invested because there's so much backstory that they focus on when I have no idea what they're talking about.
See, this is something that I wanted to bring up as well, is the fact that look at one of the most successful years for a very specific wrestling promotion in America. Which one of us has not watched 1996 and 1997 WCW Monday Nitro?
Yep.
When you watch Nitro in that era,
to be fair, I was 5.
Go to Peacock and watch Nitro right now. That's your homework. But
that's your homework.
When I got to hold the scope.
Man, I got to wait till January so that I can watch it on Netflix.
On Netflix.
On Netflix, baby. That's that plug. But no, so
Nitro and chill.
When you watch, hey, that's sometimes as we say,
Netflix and Raw.
Am I right? You got to get Raw on one.
Nitrous and chill. What's going on here?
You leave Paul Walker out of this.
No, but like here's the thing. So like that was one of the most successful periods of time for American professional wrestling, especially because you got all the people that want to look at the ratings. Hey, look at the ratings for those shows in particular. How many of those matches was literally just one big wrestler that they're putting into the next pay-per-view taking on Bobby Eaton? Oh, look, it's Lex Luger versus Mike Enos. And then, oh, hey, Dirty Dick Slater's in the next match. Oh, and he's going to get destroyed by Booker T. And all of that is to build the stars, but going into whatever the next pay-per-view is, whatever the next programs are. And that was personally one of the things that I appreciated. Growing up, we were a WCW family through and through. And that's why I have a real deep appreciation for AEW, is that element that they're able to tell the stories through the different wins and losses, because those, matter. And it's not going back to that 50-50 booking philosophy, which, and I'll contest that WWE is going away from there. But that's why AEW won my heart. And that's why I continue to watch to this day.
It's just something, there was what CJ was saying about the having other wrestlers come in that you're not aware of, and then having to find out that backstory in order to completely enjoy this, is that
it's the MCU of wrestling.
Yeah, it's that I would never that's literally exactly the reason why I love watching the company. That's the kind of impasse that I think so many of those exist when it comes to enjoying Eddie Kingston. Like, I enjoy him for the very same reason a lot of other people don't enjoy him. I would never want him to change, whereas they would want him to change. And I think that's the whole product. There's just certain things I enjoy, and there's a reason I love AEW is some of those reasons are exactly why other people don't like the company. So I would never like right now, like obviously in previous situations where they bring in other companies, I've had the advantage of knowing. I already know the backstory. I didn't have to do the research. But right now they're doing the CMLL war. I don't know a fucking thing about CMLL. I'm allowing the company to teach me about the CMLL. And I am enjoying the shit out of these CMLL wrestlers in this storyline that they're doing with AEW. And I don't fucking know them.
Hechicero.
Hechicero, I met this guy a week ago on television. Yeah, his crazy match with Brian was the first time I've ever seen him. By this week, they do the 6-man match. I'm down. I want to see the skulls. I want to see the fire. That sick ass CMLL thing they came up with.
Someone say skulls?
Exactly. I really enjoy this. I'm enjoying learning about these wrestlers, and I'm feeling like I should go watch some CMLL now. I'm going to look up some Hechicero matches. I'm going to go find a fucking Volador matches. Like that's
so Finhay, he looked really cool.
I like this.
If you look up Mystico in and around the 2011 time, he had a lot of great matches.
He disappeared somewhere. I don't know where he went.
He was hanging out with El Generico. They were rooming for a while.
Orphans in Mexico. I want to get on John's point because I do think in all generalities, we are all ice cream fans. We just like different flavors of ice cream, right? And if I say that I like, let's say, chocolate chip ice cream, and John says, that chocolate chip ice cream would be good, but it'd be better if it didn't have any chocolate chips in it. I'm gonna be like, well, screw you, because I like my fucking.
You just want vanilla. You just want. Well, why wouldn't you just order vanilla? Why are you trying to take the chocolate chips out of my ice cream?
And it happens. WWE gets into the same thing of it all. I remember when they were doing all that guest hosts of Monday Night Raw garbage stuff.
Those were dark times.
That was going on, and we just had to grin and bear it. Whatever little.
And I did.
Like, that's the reason why, and not to hit a sore spot, but that's the reason why I dug Punk so much. He was like a little bright light.
You son of a bitch.
All of that, like just corporate garbage. He was a little bit of a bright light there. Now I could imagine for AEW fans, they have an entire really, really bright light because there's no holes in what their product, in what they see of their product. Whether or not everyone holds that opinion, it doesn't really matter. And at one point I wanted AEW to be very WWE like because it was easier for me. Like I already knew one company's identity. So if you could just be a little bit like that, it makes things easier. I found now a way to sort of respect the efforts that's going on there, because no one there, regardless of whether or not you like their efforts, no one there is putting less than 100% effort, and they're all trying. Everyone there is busting their asses, and some of them are excelling. You're looking at the Swerves, you're looking at the Tony Storms. Not for nothing, even though everyone don't agree with how he handles his business, Jon Moxley's having probably the best run of his career. Doing the kind of stuff that he's doing.
He's like the ace of a company. Like as much like he was WWE champion, he was world champion, but he wasn't even the ace of SmackDown at the time. Like he was the champion, but John Cena was on the roster and AJ Styles was on the roster, and he was literally doing a program where he was the face of SmackDown. So I do think Moxley went on to break past whatever it is that they probably had planned for him. And I think he's like reached his mythical status, if only because he put the fucking company on his back over and over again. Made himself.
CJ, I want to say real quick, CJ, I also like that right now we don't got to apologize for WWE. They're not doing no crazy stuff that you're constantly have to be like, well,
like
just think about it.
Nobody's pouring cans of dog food on anybody in the modern day WWE.
Just coffee, but only if you watch NXT.
It's not the same.
Chicken bottom high, baby.
Bonkers.
No, but ultimately, again. This is that's been my thing. That's why I'm glad we were able to talk with you guys about it, because we didn't try to kill each other over it. But
no, because we're civil.
We have screens dividing us, John. If I ever see you in person,
you son of a bitch.
This will be you if you keep the sun.
I caught you watching the news on Wednesday, but not Dynamite. What the fuck is wrong with you? No. This is my thing.
How dare you not like exactly the things I like for the same reasons I like them?
You son of a bitch.
I will recreate Cody and Dwayne, my hand, your face. Let's go.
I'm really happy. But like I said, even though I prefer AEW, like it's so much easier to watch WWE now. because they've taken. Okay, say what you will, and some people are not gonna like this shit. They have taken some cues from the other side. Sometimes I believe AEW doesn't take cues from WWE as well as WWE takes cues from AEW.
Bro, I'll out you right now. That guy, that John Escudero, the very big AEW fan, had some fun at WWE Royal Rumble.
How dare I?
I saw you do it. I saw you have fun.
I'm going to cut off my own fingers and mail them to Tony Khan as an apology for even going to the Royal Rumble.
You're very elite now, John.
Let alone smiling. How could I smile at this event? As an AEW fan, I should be ashamed of myself.
Simultaneously, I went to Dynamite 100. And I had a blast, and I posted that I had a blast, and I was inundated with "you AEW shill, you AEW," and I'm like,
"Oh, what? Brother, trust me." We post on Dirt Sheet Radio, right? On Mondays, we'll post about Raw. We'll get called WWE shills. On Tuesday, we'll post about NXT WWE shills. On Wednesday, we post about AEW or AEW shills. On Thursday, I think we haven't become Impact shills yet, but at some point, we will. People just
somehow that's like the perfect balance of AEW shilling and WWE shilling is just talking about TNA.
And it's just talking about it. Oh gosh, but thank you guys. I guess thank you for being here tonight. We 2 hours on this stream. I didn't know we'd get a full episode of Dirt Sheet Radio, and I thought we'd cut it at an hour and a half. But you guys have been awesome. I can't wait to have you guys back on the flagship whenever you have the time. But you can always catch CJ on our Monday and Tuesday show. Not Monday. You're not on Monday. You're on Tuesday and
Friday. So tomorrow night, I will be talking about the fallout of tonight's press conference, if there is any.
He's very popular right now, this CJ guy. I don't know why.
I think I know why.
Hey, they treated you very well this week, sir. That company served you.
I'm gonna have to put hashtag proud Cody crybaby in my Twitter bio. So at CJ Carter 22. God, I hate this.
It's okay. I like the
doing.
Yeah, exactly. He's trying to shut me down.
No, but yeah, he'll be on Mondays and Fridays. George, tell the people where they can find you. Tuesdays and Fridays. I apologize.
Well, I do a little thing called Comic Book Click, where we talk about the latest and greatest things that come to comic books and comic book media. We actually just dropped one of our episodes of the Major Issues podcast today, talking about Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1 with Jonathan Escudero.
Yes.
We got him on the thing. We're talking Crisis on Infinite Earths. So you can find me wherever Comic Book Click is. Facebook.com/Comic Book Click, Instagram at Comic Book Click, or you should use the hashtag Comic Book Click to talk about the newest, hottest, greatest things to come to comic books, comic book media. And always remember that you are worthy.
We got to figure out how to get these Comic Book Click programs streaming on Dirt Sheet Radio for all the people.
We've got to cross promote.
George.
Cross promotion.
Hey, I talk to Greg and John about this all the time.
Nick always wants to be on Major Issues. Hey, this is his shot.
There's an opportunity. Bring me on. I will happily talk about anything and all things related to the Halo comic books and anything in there. I will go on literal rants. It'll be as long as this episode, if not longer.
You're gonna get an envelope in the mail. You're gonna get an envelope in the mail with a comic book in it. It's gonna say, "Read this by 3 p.m. Tuesday afternoon." No context. Just do it.
Nick. I'm gonna hold you to that,
and we'll know if you don't
do it.
But for sure, man. As for myself, you can catch me on the flagship Dirt Sheet Radio program every single week, Thursday mornings. I show up on the Dynamite show whenever I can. I've been kind of filling in for the other guys who've been busy this week, but I show up whenever I can. I'm always in the back directing the thing, and I pop in and out as
usually
I will.
If you're not on there, I will make sure you come out there.
He'll drag me in. But you can always catch me on the flagship. I'm always around for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. On Thursdays and Fridays, I'm not around as much as I'd like to be. But I'm also on pay-per-view stream. So if you appreciate my insight, that's where you can find me. But definitely go and check out our archived content, Dirt Sheet Radio on YouTube, Dirt Sheet Radio on Facebook. We got a whole section of about 60 fucking videos in the last 3 months.
Wow.
We used to do one podcast a week. It was 52
I remember
years.
that. I was on that. And let me just really quick, as somebody who's seen this grow from the very beginnings, I mean, I architect the logo for Dirt Sheet Radio.
Fun fact. Created the logo.
Solid
Watching
logo.
Thank you. Watching this grow, it's only grown because of the energy that you gentlemen have been able to put in it. It's a safe place for all professional wrestling fans, no matter who wants to come and sling BS when they get here. It's always a blast. It's always fun. There's always the right kind of energy. And sure, we get emotional sometimes, but this is honestly professional wrestling when it's on top, when it's firing on all cylinders, it's unbeatable. So it should produce that sort of emotion. It should produce that sort of reaction. It should produce that sort of energy. Thank you guys for creating a space where people can push that energy forward.
Thank you for taking part. Thank you for helping us get to this place. We're not here without you. George is a very important part of the foundation, as well as Nick, as well as our newer members, CJ, and everybody else on the team. We don't exist without all the pieces that are here. So thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, guys, because we don't exist without y'all at all. There's 120,000 people following Dorshi Radio on Facebook alone. Almost 3,000 on Twitter now. It's a beautiful thing. I love giving you guys a space to exist. People hate me for some reason, but I love y'all too. I actually love the people that hate me. I love the guy who's watching me right now saying he's a piece of shit. I love you.
Give us that engagement.
With all my heart. I love your engagement. Man, catch us though. We'll be here. We'll be here after WrestleMania. We'll be here after every fucking major wrestling event that happens within the next until the sun blows up.
Hey, John, don't forget, some of us might even be here in other things outside of wrestling, such as you might even be able to catch myself towards late April on the VKMT Halo Mod Showcase representing Ruby's rebalanced Halo Mod. And if you just can't get enough of me talking about Halo, I'm going to force George Serrano to have me on there to talk about all the Halo stuff. And on top of that, hey, feel free. I used to have a YouTube channel called Glitchmaster. Go find that. Go hunt it down. You'll find a lot of Halo content from me like 2018 talking about it. And I'm probably thinking on restarting that. So we'll see how
hell yeah. Absolutely. Fuck yeah. But thank you all for joining us, man. And we will see you on the next one.
See you.
Hell yeah.